if, because we consider Shinai as a sword, we grew up in Kendo. This is my question. Any answer? I have the mic here.
I just think that I think if you don't consider Shinai a sword, then why not just being completely sick and just do whatever you want? Not rules to.
Sorry, I was going to say that I think if you're just doing kendo with like just a bamboo stick, then what's the point of doing it and calling it kendo? It's just getting sort of a stick. So the fact that we do kendo is related to the fact that we treat the shinai like a sword, and when we do keiko, they're about to be treated like we're having a duel, and then if you're hit, you're dead. Otherwise, it would just be pointless and be no meaning and no feeling in the keiko. So I think that's the answer to your question. You have to treat it like a sword and actually grow as a kendo player, because otherwise you're not doing kendo, you're just doing stick pointing. Sorry.
There was somebody else here.
I would actually think that it's the first one you mentioned. It's because you grow, you start to treat kendo, you start to treat shinai more like a sword, because it's through your understanding of how you move and how you teach your mind to do the techniques and how approach your opponent, that then you start to do the techniques, shikako, kajiwaza, whatever, to do them in the proper way, like you're using an actual sword. That's sort of more the way that I see it.
Anybody else?
Yes.
All of you.
I don't know if you would like to answer, but I think one part of it is just growing older and wiser as a person. So, like when you start, it's just playful, and then through practice, because you progress in kendo, but you also progress in life, and you get older, and then you start to understand, I think, more to appreciate that it's not just some playing, but then you realize. So that's how I think it has to do also with personal growth. I don't know, obviously.
Yeah, I remember that he wrote, I think what Japanese sensei Hashiden said that if you give real swords to two people that are being shy, there will be two dead after the first attack, because many people tend to go to island. So maybe it's also a question of whether you do shy or not, because being shy, if you think you have two swords, maybe you will never go for island, and then when you progress and you do great things and you don't do shy anymore, then it's not thinking about the shinai as a sword in this time.
Hi, Sensei. So a quick one. So the kata, as we know it, is very technical. So how does the judges grade that? So you spoke about when you come to the higher Dan grades of 1, 2, 3 is very technical, 4 and 5 is more about the mind, and 7, 8, 6, 7, and 8 is more about the heart. So how does the referees or the judges look at that when you look at kata? Do you use the same kind of mindset? And that given, if there's so many people in Japan not doing kata, how can they see that if they haven't been learning it themselves? How can they sit in America and they can't see that in the kata?
This is a nice question for the kata.
Thanks, Warren. Yeah, I mean, it's obviously people who are sitting on the grading panel, the examiners are clearly, they're masters and they know how to do the kata. You find that people who hate kata just hate it simply because they can't do it. But as you get older, you have to, as part of being a kodansha, a high-level kendo practitioner, as an instructor, you have an obligation to kendo culture and to your students to know how to do it properly. And if you're in a position where you have to teach, you learn how to do it. And you learn to appreciate it. Oh, wow, that's pretty cool. I didn't know that. And you get a lot better at it, right? But how do you look at it when looking at grading? It depends on the grade. First of all, just like as mentioned before, Shodan, Iran, Sandan, just as with the ball group, make sure that the basics are there, proper movements, and proper attire, legi sabo. Gets a little bit higher, you start to see a little bit of the colour of the person who's performing it. You can see that they have a fourth dan, fifth dan level. You can see that they actually understand the theory behind the kata, not just the movements, but also the theory, the proper breathing, for example, and then the proper application of the technique, the right time, and where you do a ya, where you do a ya type, all these sort of things. You start to see these slight little differences that manifest because of the understanding. And then when you get to 6th dan, 7th dan, 8th dan, well, I can't talk about 8th dan level yet, but when you get to that level, you start to see something that you can't actually even put into words resonate out of it because it has been embodied form and the spirit of the kata. This is the ideal, of course. But when you watch kata, sometimes when you watch two senseis before a taikai, giving a demonstration, sometimes it's like, not kata again. Okay, and it's pretty ho-hum, but sometimes you'll see some pure people doing kata and it's like, wow, what the hell just happened? That's intense. You can feel it. Okay, so there's a lot of disparity, of course, and people, they change, they hopefully get better as they get older. So kata, just like Shinai Kendo, is very much something that it gets better like with time, just like a fine wine, and it develops its own peculiar taste depending on the person. So how do you judge it? Well, again, it depends on the level that you're looking at. You're looking at the form, you're looking at something else, or you're hoping to feel something. Okay, does that answer your question, one?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, go. Oh, yes, go ahead.
It's a very interesting question of the way to judge. As I told before, we are all different, and I guess we don't discuss before, but I guess that we are not exactly the same way to judge kata. But as we said before, you have to convince more than the minimum number of people in the jury. So by your presentation. I used to say sometimes when I see some people doing kata for example, 5th dan, 6th dan, we can see if they are just preparing kata for the examination of she or he is doing regularly, learn very sincerely, want to learn. We can see very like an evidence during the examinations. So regarding the grade that people want to get, just a repetition 2 days or 1 month before is not enough. We have to see that he has the same level in kata of the way he do tenuchi, the way we move the mawai, the kiai. We have to see the same level that we want to see in the keiku. That's my point of view.
Just a quick observation. I perfectly agree with this because, after all, when we judge the lower grades, so EQ, Shodan, Nidan, actually what we want to see if these people are practicing. It's something that we can recognize. If someone just put on the men the week before and goes for an exam or for EQ or Shodan, we immediately see. So there is a sort of a habit that is built in the body that you recognize after a while. And in kata is exactly the same. There is one piece of advice that, or I don't know how many of you practice also Jodo. So someone does. So it would be fantastic if everybody who practices Kendo no Kata, would try at least a couple of times to go and practice Jodo, to get the feeling of the kata in Jodo. In Jodo, you really feel the danger. If you're sleeping on what you're doing, you end up with palm getting hit on the side or in your sternum or whatever. You feel the danger. You feel that you have to be focused. You feel the jewel. And if there's something that I would always give as an advice, if you really want to start to understand what we would like to see in terms of feeling in the kata practice, is exactly that kind of feeling, that you're there, you're present, there's a danger, which is your opponent, and you have to deal with it. And I think that sometimes people are a bit complacent. Yeah, it's a danger, but not that much. After all, I know that he's going to stop before he's going to hit me. And this is our weakness. So I would suggest as a advice, you don't have to do that, but if you have an idea about Jodo practice, I think that go and try. Have a seminar or something like that and see the intensity with which the Jodo practitioner deal with each other. And it's going to benefit, for sure your kata is going to benefit from that. That was free advice.
Thank you very much. We are slowly running out of time. So I would like to wrap things up with just maybe a thought from one of you, two of you. Regarding, we covered the exam part, we covered the educational part, in kata, and the last thing I would like to ask is something that relates to more dynamic, let's say, aspect of the whole thing, and this is shiatsu, right? We were exposed to certain changes in these past few months, which were already implemented within the last European Kendo Championship. We are extremely privileged to have a whole bunch of very high Shimpans, which judge European Championships, International World Championships, and so forth. So I would be remiss not to ask you about your opinion regarding these new rules. Are they going to affect Kendo in a positive way, in a negative way? Are you all on the same page? Do you all think it's a good thing? Or do you think there might be a process of adaptation and negotiation, let's say, in the next few years? And then whoever wants to or feels like.
Oh, let's start from one side. Go.
Well, opinion about new rules for the future? Are you realistic? We received the COVID rules like something new. But this rule is not new. They was in the regulation. They was described in the other book who explain how to apply the rules. COVID give to Japanese senseis the courage to write down more clearly how to manage this kind of aspect. Super Seriai, incorrect Super Seriai was also put before. And there are some documents where they wrote which kind of situation. One side was the time, something like this. COVID and also so few times you must stay in Super Seriai. Otherwise you can also with COVID they specified this kind of point more precisely. If you strike, go to Super Seriai in few times, really in one breath. Last European Kendo Championship, Kota Sensei is responsible for everything for the Zekeren, but also Shimpacho in Frankfurt, he said one breath. One breath. In one breath, you have to find a good opportunity. If you don't have opportunity, you must keep distance. So we, after 2 years without championship, referee, so very beautiful shy, very good action, very also Ikiwaza. One doubt was maybe with this kind of rule, Ikiwaza disappeared. Absolutely no. But very good connection. This rule improved very good connection between corporate. In any case, immediately reaction with Ikiwaza or decision to separate. We were surprised, not so many cases we had in championship. Some cases we had with some nations that we know that during this period they never applied in their teaching, in their small tournament that they had during this period. But other countries who used a little bit in the last their championship in Italy, we applied immediately. Of course, it was difficult. We at the beginning, please pay attention, so want to advise, not also good, but after 2-3 tournaments, all people was ready for this. And the quality of Kendo we saw is really go up during European Championship. That is, how to say, in Europe is our most important moment to see the progress of Kendo in Europe, in Germany. So we saw very beautiful Kendo, so why not? And also very easy for Shimpan to judge this kind of, because now we have a support by the rules that say this 1 second, 2 seconds, yes, no, and before was very quiet. Because it depended on Shimpancho, of the tournament, the Japanese say okay, yes, but also it was very difficult for us to judge. And in World Kendo Championship, many of us, 1, 2, 3, we all referee in World Kendo Championship. We have in Shimpan group with Japanese sensei, and sometimes it was very difficult to find a good balance for good judgment, especially for this situation. In this case, because it always very easy to judge, compare this kind of situation. When to go? Sometimes they don't know, but they are fight, they know, and now, not yes, it was very difficult. Now it's very clear. Okay,
First of all, I'm sorry, Marco. I don't think that anybody here will say, oh, we would like to go back.
It's not a contest.
Yeah. No, but just in case if you were hoping that somebody would say, yeah, but let's go back. So I just want to, it's a scoop that I want to give you. Donald Trump said that the Chinese invented Corona. Actually, it was invented in an underground lab under the Budokan in Tokyo. And because this was the biggest present that could be given to Kendo since years. And it's a big present because having to deal with the Japanese, and I think that finally they felt the shame of the terrifying finals in the World Kendo Championship that were always embarrassing, and they see opening also in Korea. They said that even in Korea we've been told a couple of times by the board, by the members of the international department of FIK or Japan Confederation, that in Korea they will start to punish the lifting of the elbow. Yeah? So, and it was interesting that they were proposing this example like a reason to, yeah, we have to go forward, this is the right decision to go. And the new rules, I totally agree, are easy to apply. We could see who has been working on them or not. I would also to mention the reduction of number of encho and the boring things. Encho in the European Championship happened when there was really a situation where there was an equal, let's say, value on two sides. And I think that, in a sense, these rules are what we expect you to apply also in an examination. Meaning, in an examination, it would be really silly to spend time, precious time of your exam by, loitering in a tsubateriai. So, technically speaking, just practice every day as if you were going to go for an examination, and also your shy would be better. And I really hope that they stay, just like my colleague here said. Yeah.
So as usually, I will try to put the things in the context. The Article 1 of the rules of competition is just saying three things. To referee a fight, you have to be fair in our judgment. We try to do our best to do that. We have to prevent any prejudice, of course. And the third one, to respecting the principle of the sword. If we take the third one, and we think about a tsubateriai with two swords, how many seconds, minutes, hours will you stay in this position with the blade of your opponent at 10 centimeters to your face? Another question for you. So that's why for me this new rule is something going in the sense of the principle of the sword. And when FIC and HKF asked me my point of view about these things, I say we collegially, all the referees have been a bit lazy for years regarding these things. And now we are on the track. That's my point of view.
To put it very short, the experiences, for example, from Frankfurt in the European Kendo Championships are like really promising and beautiful fights. And actually, we finished early every single day, which is a big thing. Yeah, and we had time to go to Chile. But I sincerely hope that we can continue with these new rules, because it's nice fights, really honest fights, and you have to be brave with these new rules. You cannot stay in Tsubaseria for a long time and try to avoid your opponent doing something, or you have to challenge your opponent and really face your opponent. So that's I think it's really like the nature of Kendo. You have to be brave and try to attack. So I'm really pro.
It's just the same old thing, isn't it? But I think from the Japanese perspective, the Japanese side have been pretty excited about this, because they've finally got rid of a contradiction in Kendo, which Donatella mentioned about you don't do Shinsa like that, or you do Shia like that. And so now they've sort of come closer together. Tsubaseria was never really in line with the principles of the sword. And so people are very happy, generally speaking, that it's been removed. I don't think the Japanese are going to be very happy about how things might turn out at the next World Championships, but that's another story. But one thing I will say is, in my position teaching at university, university students at Kansai, how quick they were to adapt. Really fast. It's like, oh really, the rules change, okay, what do we do? And so they've developed some amazing new techniques which utilize this new way of doing kendo without subazeria. So that the way they move in and then the hikiwaza that they are developing is like, wow, it's insane. So it's part of kendo, is being able to adapt and move on depending on the circumstances. So certainly it's kind of, I think the students in Japan really enjoy the challenge of finding new strategies and ways of doing kendo in line with the rules, and it looks good. It really does. So it's kind of a very exciting time, I think. And you might want to check out online. I think it's this weekend actually. Yeah. If you get a chance, check out on YouTube how the Japanese students. I don't know so much about high school students, but definitely university students. They really are very competitive. And so if you look online about the All Japan Student Championships that are going on at the moment, you might learn some pretty neat new techniques. Okay, thank you.
About my experience, I was the first time for me as a referee during the Europeans. So, what I can say is, in my opinion, the players were faster adapting compared to the referee to the new rules. I was refereeing few competitions about Europe before the Europeans, and often even the European Championship was closed in temporary talking, weren't applied. Even 6 months before, 3 months before, weren't applied. And so what I saw during the competition in EKC, especially the first day, were an asymmetrical interpretation of the new rules. We are calling new rules, but as Dalago Sensei told, it's not exactly new. I think there is 70% of remark what already was and was never applied properly or directly. So this is really good to my opinion, because it's saving the quality of the match. But I think as referee, and including me of course as first, we have to be more confident and to have more training how apply the right moment, because often maybe we are starting to recognize some mistake too late, or opposite, immediately when it's just a moment or an habit. We have to take a good balance between what the new rules is talking about and our feeling is catching, because the people who was fighting till few years ago like me, of course we have an habit actually not exactly loud. But at the same time, I would not say 100% of the new. I think, especially the area timing, often is so short that it's cutting one full set of good solutions for Ikiwaza. Maybe because I love Ikiwaza, but it somehow totally disappeared. And this is my personal vision. I think maybe maintaining like 10 seconds instead of one, maybe it's possible to. Thank you. There is some. I will put my side to that. But this is my point of view. Of course.
We see a Croatian trend here.
Please help me. Just to say, the point is not became too rigid in only one direction. And as player, as referee, and also about rule, this change tell to us it's always possible to modify the indications to obtain a better quality of the kendo way, and that is a really good way. So not forget, maybe it's possible to maybe change again or make a little modify to obtain a better quality of our candle, starting from Shasha, of course, because Shai should connect somehow with candle way, shouldn't be a different story at all. Of course, was a very good lesson from your seminar a few years ago about the Shai, what is Shai, what is candle way, what is sport. It was very interesting to me. But at the end of the day, it must be inside of a certain limit to talk the same language. And the rule for refereeing is really important to maintain that line. Yeah.
Only one point about the new rules. The criteria of new rules, I think, they stay. Of course, when we some small adjustment, it would be possible, but of course, nothing changed, I think. Also, talking with some Japanese senseis, so they are very, very happy. But the rules don't talk only about Spaziale, but talk also about the approach Shasha must have when he moves forward with the opponent, not in the same defensive attitude, but always in a positive attitude.
So this kind of action, if someone from C0097 try to advance in this way, can be answered, for example.
So there are some other points that invite Shasha to produce a more productive, more positive attitude. It's not only a physical problem in Spaziale, but also try to change the attitude of Shasha in a positive way.
It was my intention, but I managed to start fighting. We're running out of time. If you have some issues or questions or comments, you will have a chance until Sunday to address it with the senseis. I would like to thank the beautiful panel. It was a very interesting way of expressing certain ideas. We did experiment a little bit this time around, but I hope you enjoyed it. I also hope everybody else in the audience enjoyed the discussion and you learned something or you got more informed. Thank you everybody and see you this evening at 6 o'clock, right?
Thank you.
While we've got everybody here in one place with a mic so everybody can hear us clearly, maybe it's a good opportunity to just explain to everybody how we're going to conduct the seminar. So for tonight, it's going to be kind of similar to what we did this morning. Okay, and I believe that the kids went to a different room to train, but the adults will pretty much stay where we were today. We'll do something a little bit different because everybody has their own sort of ideas and ways of doing things to give you some variety. But from tomorrow, we're going to divide people up into groups. It's a little bit we don't know how it's going to turn out until we try it, at least. But the kids, like today, they will be practicing on their own with Christian and Tibo Sensei. The groups that proposed, based on numbers and on perceived ability through your grade. First of all, the adult group for 6th queue through to 3rd queue will be one group. Okay, so if you have 6th queue, 5th queue, 4th queue, 3rd queue, you'll be in one group. Another group will be NICU and EQ adults. So these are the people getting closer to sitting the Shodan examination. Then we will have the Shodan and Nidan group. Okay? And then Sandan group on its own, because there are many people in the Sandan group. And then 4th Dan, 5th Dan, and 6th Dan group. Okay, so these are the groups that we've decided, we've divided up. Once you start it, you might not be happy with the level that you're in. It might be too high or too low, whatever. We can adjust, of course. But just for tomorrow morning, from 10 o'clock until 11:40, the kids will be taken by Christian and Tibor. The Q adults, 6th Q through the 3rd Q will be from Donatella. The NICU EQ group will be with Lorenzo, Zagos Marcus Frey Sensei, who took this morning's lesson, will take the Shodan Nidan group. And W Sensei will take the Sandan group, and I will take the Yondan, Kodan, Kodan group tomorrow. And that will be from 10 until 11:40. Then we will have Jigeko for everybody together, like we did. Okay? And then we also have the afternoon. And in the afternoon we have the same groups. We start at 4 o'clock, but the sensei for each group will change. Okay? And so you will stay with the same groups, but the senseis will rotate so that you get a completely different lesson. Okay? And then on Sunday morning, we will do exactly the same. Okay? And then, of course, in the afternoon, everybody's favorite time, the examination. Okay? But just one more thing, on Sunday in the morning, I've added another group just for kata, because everybody so desperately wants to be good at kata now that you've heard us talk about it. Not just for examinations, of course. So if you're sitting in an examination, regardless of your grade, then you can come into the kata group. Okay? I don't want to go into any more detail because we can go on forever. Once we get started, you'll be able to work it out. Does anybody have any questions? No? Okay, but as I said, we're pretty flexible, and so if you think that you should be in another group for whatever reason, then just let us know and we'll work it out. Okay? Is there anything you guys need to add to that? All good?
Sorry, just a few seconds, then I let you leave. But I want to remark the meaning, why there is this opportunity to split the group with juniors. It's not because it's be serious. Exactly the opposite. Is to help the young category to improve their skills in a different age, to feel them like a community. There are other kids around me. It's more funny. And also the didactical system is around their necessities. So I hope you will appraise this opportunity like I appraise to have this chance to keep on side certain categories to improve better, faster and more funny way than training. So.
Okay. Thanks very much. I guess that's it, is it? Yep, let's get out of here. We're hungry.